Before we start the video, I believe we need to take a moment to pay respects to someone that has been dear to the channel. And unfortunately, his time has finally come. Jenkins, no. Jenkins, no. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Glacial Geek video. I'm Phil, the Glacial Geek, and today I am coming to you after a bit of a pause. Life got crazy, things happened, but, you know, such is life. I imagine that everyone has had those times. Unfortunately, mine comes with a reminder to everyone else in the world because you don't see videos. But I'm back and hopefully going to continue along the same process and be able to keep it going and shouldn't be a problem from here on out, I think. Knock on wood, there probably will be. Let's be honest. That's just the way life is. But past that and past the unfortunate timing of the of Jenkins' inevitable leaving us here on the channel, I did want to talk about a topic that I've seen since the very beginning when people talk about this, when things came out and they released the points for this new edition, and it was the fact that now points are kind of like power. And is it basically just power, or is it, is it something different than power? And is it good? Is it bad? Like, what does this do for us for the game? And what does this do for us for Warhammer? What does this do for us as hobbyists and whatever else? And the fact, the TLDR, too long didn't read version of this is that I like it. And the reason that I like it is that it's simpler. I'm not sitting there trying to figure out if I need to add like one more guy to this squad to get me up to this, or if I wanted to add one more guy to this squad, does it mean I have to take two guys out of that squad, and then I've got like a weird size, like a 6-man tactical unit that doesn't do anything for me more than a 5-man tactical squad, but it got me to that 2,000 points exactly, or I put a flamer on that tactical squad that's going to sit in the back sit in the back of my deployment zone and sit on an objective the entire game and never get within 12 inches to be able to flame anybody. So just so I got to 2,000 points. Now I get to go through and put my units that I want to play with into the game and kit them out with what I want them to be kitted out with for what they're going to do. So if I'm going to have a unit that's going to be sitting back in my deployment zone, they're going to have long range weapons. I'm not going to sit there and have to put in a flamer just because I have 5 extra points. Now I get to kit them out exactly how I want them to be kitted out. And the understanding with all of these points is that you are kitting them to the extreme. So you've got like the most optimal loadout. But at the end of the day, there is no optimal loadout that's not going to do what you want it to do. So if you want to take a Devastator squad that's going to sit in your deployment zone, you want it back there on an objective, and you want it to be able to just plink off units, perhaps las cannons are going to be the way to go. Maybe you want to put them in a drop pod and you're more worried about vehicles because of vehicles being a big part of this new edition and having a lot of power, like strength. It's like hard to get a lot of other weapons to get through. You drop in a grav squad with the grav cannons in a drop pod and drop them down. So suddenly now I've got at minimum 2 different loadouts that I want to put in for a Devastator squad, and I can choose that. And I'm not worried that I'm like 5 points off, that I have to put 3 grav cannons and a heavy bolter into that squad, but that heavy bolter is just going to be doing nothing for me with the mission that it's being sent out with. I can now load it out with exactly what I want it to do. I like that. I like that simplicity. I like the ability to just make my army and let it do its thing. I know there's the OCD part of me that also goes crazy when I've got like 5-10 points that I need to get to 2,000. But I think that's the kind of thing that's going to slowly not be an issue anymore with people, because their army is going to be doing what they want it to. And who cares if you had to pay 5 extra points for that flamer? If you wanted that flamer in that unit, you can now have it, and it doesn't make a difference. And I like that. I like the ability to be flexible with how I want to load out my army, and I don't have to worry about whether I have the points for it. I can just worry about what I want these units to do and make them do it. So if I have a tank and I want them to do a certain thing, I can give them the loadout that I want to, and not just like drop sponsons to save points, or just put in heavy bolters even though I wanted heavy flamers because I want this to be a very aggressive tank or something like that. Now I can put them out, kit them out exactly how I want them to. And I get that there's, they understand that people are like, well, now I don't have, the loadout. I just had a whole bunch of like bare bones squads, and that's fine. You can still play them as bare bones, and it's like you're not. If they are doing what you want them to do, if they were going to do what you wanted them to do with or without those weapons, then there's no loss there. The only thing that you're losing is if you were taking units to do a certain job in your list, and you weren't kitting them out properly to do that job just because of points. And at that point, you're cutting yourself off. And at that point, you're just like cutting off your nose to spite your face. Now, if you have a unit, every time you put a unit into your list, it should have a purpose. It should have a reason for being there. It should have a job that it's going to do. Is this unit fast and jumping on objectives? Is this unit sitting back in my home deployment zone, holding down objectives, keeping my opponent from getting back there? Is it going to be an aggressive tanky unit that's going to sit in the middle of the board and just take abuse all day and just hold territory? Is this going to be going out and monster hunting or tank hunting? Whatever it is, when you put a unit into your list, it should have a purpose. And at this point now, the way the points are put out, you can now kit them out to do that purpose as best that it can and how you want it to, without having to worry whether you've got the 5 points for your horde clearing flamer or not. And you don't have to take like unoptimized units just to get by on the points. Now, if you put that unit into your list, it will have what it wants. And at the end of the day, I know we have this where you're going to be swinging maybe between like 30 points or so to get to 2,000. But that's what the enhancements now do. And if you're not taking characters, if you're not taking leaders in your list, I think you are selling yourself short in this edition. Leaders add so much more to these units and make them so much better that at this point, if you're not taking leaders that you can put enhancements on, you're selling yourself short. So at the end of the day, I like the simplicity. I like the versatility that it gives me to just take what I want to do certain jobs, because there is no absolute best thing to take. There's only what I need it to do that might be the best for that. So if I have a unit that's going to go into a drop pod, Devastator unit that's going to go into a drop pod, and I want it to go after vehicles, then yes, the best unit for me to take, the best weapons for me to take at that point are the grav cannons. But if that's not what I want that Devastator squad to do, and I want it to do something else, then grav cannons suddenly aren't the optimal best choice for me to take. So I don't think there's a single absolute best optimal unit way to take it. And I think a lot of the weapons that kind of had those situations are suddenly now becoming more homogenized. So you've got like the accursed weapons with Chaos Space Marines. You've got just the bolt rifles with the intercessors. Now you don't have to choose between them. You've kind of got them as the one choice that you go with it. It makes it simpler with that. And I get that the crunch, a lot of people really like the crunch. And at the end of the day, you're right. This is not a change that is aimed towards the people that really like the crunch, that really liked like the minute choosings between. I don't think this has taken away the fun for me for army building. I still have to try to figure out units to do certain jobs for me. I think in this edition is a lot more of an all-comers list that you need to be able to handle different things, because of the fact that you've now got the your usual secondaries are going to be tactical, so they have to be able to be flexible to do the job that you need them to. You're running into the fact that you've got the top tier armies are anything from, Knights to Gene Stealer cult. So you're going to be facing, hordes, and you're going to be facing big, heavy, vehicles and stuff like that, vehicle heavy lists. So if you're not taking a list that can handle both, you're not really doing yourself a service going into a tournament. So you need to be able to have units that can do different jobs, that can do them for you well. And with the points now being taken away from weapons, we now have the ability to have more versatility in those choices. Now, here's where I think that the point system that they currently have is different than the power level system that they had done previously, is because this now holds it open that they can be far more granular than the point system allowed. So you're still dealing with, hundreds of points for a unit that can be adjusted in a far more finely tuned way than if you've just got 20, 30 points for a power level in a unit that you're trying to put into your list there. It gives you more granularity for balancing like that. It also holds open the possibility that if in the future there is one choice that just becomes so overbearing, but you don't want to destroy the whole unit because of all the other options that you have with it, it holds it open that you could suddenly charge a few more points for that one choice. So say las cannons become the OP choice of the game. This system, the way it is currently, has the potential to allow you to charge 5 points more for a las cannon, so that you've got the average of 20 extra points for a dev squad with las cannons versus everything else. And it allows you to still have that ease of army build while still allowing you to then choose to pick and choose things that maybe are individually more of a problem than any other option there. And I like that. I like them kind of giving themselves that backdoor, that ability to make those choices, to make those changes, and do what they need to help balance the game going forward for them and for us. And I know that right now they're going through the system, but they've started with what they're talking about, where I think in September we're going to have the first real points balance that's going to be coming out, and then come January, December or so, then they're going to have an actual balanced data slate. And they promised not to have them coming out as fast as they did last edition. And I think that both upsets a lot of people and makes a lot of people happy. So, or actually it just probably upsets everyone. Where you're sitting back and you're like, you're doing nothing to change and help balance the game. It's like, well, you yelled at us for trying that too much last time. We're trying to find that balance, and I think that's pretty good that they're actually trying to stick to what they said this time. And there's always going to be, those teething moments when you come into a new edition, figure it out. And we're all in Index right now, so things will change drastically as new codexes come out and new models get their actual rules the way they are. And I'm not sure how much they're going to change or how much they're going to adjust, and what's going to actually happen with these armies going forward, but it'll be interesting to see. All I know is that Jenkins, unfortunately, will not be with us once the Space Marine Codex comes out. So R.I.P. Jenkins, you were a true hero of the Imperium. So, let me know down below if you like the new point system, or if you wish it would go back, or if you think it should be even more simplified. How, I don't know, but maybe you have that opinion. In which case, feel free to talk about it down below. I'm just I like it. I think it's going to be fun. I think it makes building lists a lot simpler, and it allows me to focus on what I want my list to do, as opposed to what little gubbins that each of them are armed with. And I like that. It makes my life easier. It makes my life simpler. It makes me a happy camper. So let me know what you think down below, and we'll continue the conversation. But thank you all for all your support. I'm glad to be back, and hopefully going to be able to keep going. It's been a little bit of a rough jump here in 2023, but hopefully we'll be able to continue and finish the rest of this year strong. So I hope you guys have all enjoyed this. I certainly have. I have been Phil, the Glacial Geek, as always. And until next time, stay safe and have fun.